First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to Dr. Andy, who invited me to share my experience. Also to all the guests and speakers. I'm very honorable to meet you all. I'm sorry, I'm an anthropologist. I'm not an urban specialist, but Dr. Andy asked me to share my experience in enriching rural people's knowledge, so as to help improving the urban-rural linkage. So thank you for the introduction earlier. I'm also happy since I'm also a task member of the engagement group of Science 20. So hopefully we can build our linkages for the G20 summit in the future, near future. I would like to share my PowerPoint file. Is it okay here? Yeah.
Yes, that looks fine. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Prof. Pak Moderator. Yeah. So this is the title of my presentation. Enriching farmers' knowledge to go better to climate change. This is a very important issue because farmers are different from us in the urban area. Yeah? Many of us are educated, but they lack of access to any information. So how to strengthen the role of rural people if we do not share our time, our energy, our expertise to enrich farmers' knowledge, especially to go better to climate change. I would like to share with you, sorry. Sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry, wait, yeah. Sorry. Okay, this is the picture of farmers. What is he doing? He is measuring rainfall in a rain gauge, and the rain gauge was made by farmers themselves, but it is based on the measurement that has already been officially recognized by the president of World Meteorological Organization, who was collaborating with me. He was the agrometeorologist, but he passed away, and I'm now collaborating with an agrometeorologist from Africa. So this is the rain gauge. Actually, this is a place mounted in the farmer's own field, and the farmers named it as omplong. Yeah? A rain gauge made by farmers. In another area, they name it as like centong and lodong. Yeah, it's in local languages. So this is very important and very significant new knowledge for farmers, that they are now able to measure rainfall every day in their own field. So why urban-rural linkage is important? So I observed and followed what was happening during the pandemic in the last 2 years. Yeah. So this is the pile of the cabbages and the vegetables that were not able to be sold because in the first year of pandemic, there's a sudden loss there of income generation for farmers. They failed to sell vegetables to local, city, regional, and international markets, and also sudden collapse of incoming food products for urban people. I think we all experienced this, and the piles of vegetables being sold at a much lower price for local people, so no profit making at all, just to return their spending, and then consumed by local household, distributed them for free, or being left rotten. So the most vulnerable thing is the disruption of the supply chains. So the disruption of urban-rural linkage under the large-scale social limitation policy in the midst of pandemic, especially in the first year of pandemic. And then we just learned from how the situation in China, yeah, with the Shanghai lockdown. So the second year, the farmers told me that it is more relaxed, and we could still sell our products to regional markets, also to Jakarta. But there was an increasing cases of COVID-19 in the rural area, unlike the year before. So this is the trade-off. If you open a more relaxed, what do you call it? I mean, more relaxed mobilization of people, then there are increased number of cases. So this is the situation, but it is okay now. It is returned to, yeah, normal, but learning from that problems. So I argue that there is a great need to advance and strengthen the economic digitization, so to improve the urban-rural linkage through digital technology, and also still need to strengthen and advance people's knowledge. Yeah. So, sorry. Yeah. Now, first is the development and advancement of digital technology. This helped the linking rural and urban through online marketing and distribution. A group of young people from the urban areas tried to initiate to help the farmers in the rural area to market their products. So they made like a hub. And Tani Hub is now very popular, very prominent, yeah? Very promising, not only for the rural farmers, but also for the young urban people. So they can market, and then the young people in the urban area distribute it to the consumers. Second, things that was initiated by a group of farmers in the rural area in the south of West Java, Pangandaran areas, they try to shorten the supply chains, selling the products directly to consumers in urban areas, yeah, using also digital technology. So they just brought the vegetables inside they bought a car, a van, and then distributed straight door to door. Those who need the vegetables, need the food stuffs, but they cannot find it in the market or have difficulties to get in a good amount of vegetables. Now, the third area that was developed by farmers themselves in the rural areas is how they try to enrich their own knowledge and skills to produce post-harvesting food products. Why? Because according to them, if we do not improve our knowledge and skills to what you call it, to improve the technology of making a food, post-harvesting food products, so we cannot avoid the damage of the raw materials. So farmers use in West Java, especially in Sumedang Regency, it was well known for the peyem, yeah, the fermented singkong of cassava, but they cannot sell the fermented cassava straight away during the pandemic. So what did they do? They try to learn, they got the experience from internet and learning from other people how to make flowers from the cassava, and from the flowers they can produce cakes. So these are all the initiatives both by the urban and rural people to solve the problems of the pandemic. But I think not only the pandemic, but the climate change is a continuous threat for farmers. Yeah? So the production and the farmers' livelihood is a threat during the climate change, which is still continuous. But do the farmers know about this threat? So and when I was with them in the field, so farmers always ask question. Do farmers know? My question, do farmers know of climate change phenomena based on their empirical knowledge? Because they learn something from their empirical knowledge. It's different from us. We can learn it from reading books, from our laboratory, but they rely on their empirical knowledge. Yeah. So this is do farmers know that their fields vulnerability are caused by the consequences of climate change? So one consequence of climate change is the increasing climate variability. Why does the start of this rainy season planting differ from the previous season? Yeah. So why are there plenty of rains in the dry season planting like now? It should be the start of the dry season. Why there are still lots of rains? Or otherwise, Why there are not much rains in the rainy season? So there's a dry field. And the second consequence is the increasing global temperature. Why is there a decline in the season's yields through the growth of plants? Though the growth of plants look normal, the growth of plants look normal. There is no pest and disease infestation, but why my yields reduced? Almost 10% or more than 10%. He didn't understand that the increase of the temperature in the midnight, I think the very coldest temperature, the very lowest temperature midnight, if it is increased 1 degree Celsius during the ripening stage, then it can reduce the yields up to 10%. But farmers did not get any idea, and nobody told them of what is the risk to their plants, to their food production. And the more frequent and more severe of extreme events, we realized that. So the farmers asked, why in a sudden were there huge flood and landslides, damaging the 2 hectares of my chili plants? I've never had this experience before, and in a sudden, my 2 hectares of chili plants damaged. I could not earn any profits. So to secure and improve urban-rural linkage, I argue strongly that we need to develop long-term educational commitment to farmers. No, it is not efficient or effective if we only provide short-term training project. Needs a long-term educational commitment through providing climate services and developing farmers' analytical capability and decision-making, not only introducing technology. I observed the introduction of climate-smart technology. Oh, this is the adaptive strategy towards adaptation, the effective strategy to mitigate the gas emission. So the farmers learned the technology, but didn't understand how to analyze the risk of the climate change and how to anticipate and to better make the decision. Therefore, my team from the Universitas of Indonesia introduced the science field shops. This is based on an interdisciplinary approach with an agrometeorologist. So this is an agrometeorological learning arena to make farmers researchers and scientists in their own fields. And by being researchers or scientists, they can become capable persons in sustaining food production in the midst of ongoing climate change. I'm an anthropologist. I do not understand the nitty-gritty of the climate change and the agrometeorology, but the agrometeorologist needs our help to transfer the applied dimension of agrometeorology to help them to be able to analyze what is happening in their fields and what should I do? How could I improve my analytical capability? And the most important thing is the anticipation capability. This one is this analytical capability so that they will be able to anticipate better, almost lacking in various kinds of governments or scientists' introduction to the farmers in the rural areas. So throughout how many years? This almost 12 years already. We are gradually establishing the 8 climate services. So we provide climate services, not technology directly, but through the climate services. The first one is how to measure rainfall daily. They have to measure rainfall daily in farmers' own fields, not in other fields, but in their own fields. Make their own fields a station, rainfall station, and then observe agroecosystem, carry out monthly evaluation at the end of 3 decadal period, 10 days period, observing what are the vulnerabilities they found to get in their fields, and then discuss to find solution together. And the most important thing for them is evaluating yields between individual farmers in one planting season. Why you can get 8 tons per hectare, why I can only get 5 tons per hectare. They try to analyze it to understand what are the causal factors. And by understanding that, they would learn that in the near future or in the future, if they experience the same climate condition, they have to be careful, they have to be ready to avoid the yields reduction or yields failure. Yeah, and then organizing the science workshop should be by farmers themselves. So we try to empower them, so to enable them to continue the learning activities by themselves, and also to strengthen oneself and groups cohesiveness as farmers researchers. Because if they are alone, they feel lonely, they do not know where to go. But as a group, they can find solution together, they can communicate. And by doing that, as a scientist, I could exit. I could not stay longer in the field, but they can do by themselves. They can manage their learning by themselves. But of course, they still rely on the help of the scientists, especially in disseminating climate scenarios to enable farmers to anticipate better. Like I just received, I think yesterday's scenarios that the previous scenarios that La Nina will return to normal condition in the beginning of June. And then yesterday, I received the scenario from my partner, agrometeorologist in Africa, South Africa, that there will be continuous La Nina for another 3 months plus 3 months period. So then farmers can interpret that there will be lots of wet days, and then the intensity of rainfall will increase, and it will be across most of the areas in Indonesia. And then the important things for the scientists, if we have to provide new knowledge if they need help. So, but they can also ask their friends, their colleagues, the same farmers who had the experience, how to solve vulnerability issues. They can also invite local agriculture staff or invite agriculture officials, whoever, to help them. Now, in this days, in these 6 services, so you can introduce new knowledge, new strategies, new technology, but without 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then the technology would not last long. And then the important thing is to carry out win-win solution experimentations, not demonstration plot. Yeah, the agricultural staff or the corporates used to come to the village and then provide and then ask farmers to watch the demonstration, to observe the demonstration plot. They rent a plot, a field, and then this, for example, they introduce new pesticides or new fertilizers, and then farmers have to observe. But here, you do your own experimentation based on your question. What questions you want to ask? Let's do the experimentation. So by doing that, it is expected that farmers can develop their mitigation and adaptation. And the last, the final service is digitizing, so that they will not lose their data. So these are some photos measuring rainfall, observing their agro-ecosystem in their fields. And this is farmers discussing their findings and presenting their data to get question and answer and discussions and what is the problems and how we solve the problems. And this is the yield evaluation. And then this is a structure, the organization structure of farmers' own organization. And this is the seasonal scenario sent to me in English through email. And then I translate it in Bahasa Indonesia. It is not easy because of the technical terms, but I try to translate it as much as I can. But I cannot avoid not to use La Nina, El Nina, etc. But through our get-together, our discussions, I explain what does it mean, the technical terms. Yeah, and this is the new knowledge, an experimentation about diverse soil structures and with different mold system. And then if you pour water, let's see what's the difference and which kind of soil structure and molds that will help you reducing the leakage of water. And this is the experimentation of soil to know how homogenized or how heterogenized their soil in their own field, in one plot of field. Yeah. So this is the agrometeorological learning in the science-based jobs.
Prof, we have difficulties in.
Okay, and this is the example of annual rainfall graph. So digitization is the 8 climate services. And this is the climate scenarios. 2 more slides, ya, Pak, ya. Climate scenarios of September 2021, just recently, March 2022. See, there is a neutral condition at the end of September, but trending towards more than 50% chance of La Nina from September 2021 until March, when it is predicted to return to neutral. And farmers have the interpretation, oh, an indication that La Nina could emerge because 50% chance. The indication is true. Now we have rains before November, and the rainfall would bring lots of water, and the high intensity of rains would lead to outbreaks of pests and disease. So these are 4 diverse responses by farmers in different ecosystem. Yeah. Postpone the planting till end of February to avoid failure of making nursery. Dry rain-fed farmer decided to start planting early as possible to use the abundant water, but selecting short age maturing variety. Irrigated farmer also decided to wait till water is enough and selecting short age maturing variety. And watermelon farmers, some decided to plant in August, still okay, but those who planted in September will experience harvest failure. So this is my last slides, yeah, to convince you that sustaining food production, strengthening farmers' livelihood can alleviate urban vulnerability. So this is a probability graph made by young farmer. Yeah, young farmer. He introduced the result of his analysis in a farmer meeting. In a village meeting, this is also a young farmer, presented his crossbreeding cultivar of filial 6. And these are the farmers show their, their local cultivar, who was sold to the Jakarta, to the main trader. Really, I would like to mention that strengthening food production, sustaining food production, it means strengthening rural livelihood sustainability and will alleviate the urban vulnerability, yeah, as mentioned in my slide. And young farmers have the potentials to also make their own graph, to make their interpretation, to convince other farmers also in the village meeting, and also they can also produce their own cultivars. And now recently, their local cultivars were sold to a main trader in Jakarta to be exported also to Saudi Arabia. So it can, if you pay attention to farmers, to the local people, how to help them to survive in the midst of ongoing climate change, then you will also have more a sustainable food supply. Yeah, sorry for my clicking in that my audio. Yeah, thank you very much.